Hi everybody. So today's this week is the portion of Behar, and in this week's portion, it talks about the seventh year, the sabbatical. And there's many questions. First of all, why, with all the laws that we hear of, why is it this one that's so important? And what's the connection between the seventh year and everything else in the portion? So we're going to start by reading, and you'll see eventually we're going to take a journey together. So Michelle.
And if you shall say, what shall we eat? Rabbi Yehuda opened the discussion with, trust in Hashem and do good. Dwell on the land and enjoy security. Man should always be careful with his master and cleave with his heart to the supernal faith, so as to be perfect with his master. For when he is perfect with his master, the inhabitants of the world can do him no harm.
So the seventh year, so what happens on the seventh year? The seventh year, you're supposed to leave the land alone and not work it. No plowing, no planting, nothing. And the first thing that comes to mind is, what are we going to do, right? So if you think about it, seventh year, what is seven? Malchut. What happens if you can actually let go of Malchut and you can actually trust in the Creator, then you're going to the next level. So it says here, and if you shall say, what shall we eat? Because that's basically what comes to our mind first, is if I'm going to leave the land, what's going to happen? And it's saying that we should trust the Creator because basically the Creator created this world for us. And if he's saying that we need to leave this land, there's a reason for it. So if we get to the level of faith in the Creator, then we can understand what the seventh year really means. So let's keep on going.
Come and behold. Trust in Hashem and do good. What is and do good? We have learned by stirring below, the supernal deed is stirred above. It has already been established that
do them
means you shall speak to them, since by your deed of stirring below, there is stirring above. Therefore it is written, and do good, since good is nothing but the righteous, as is written. Save the righteous, that it shall be well known. When you do this, assuredly this goodness will stir above. Then dwell in the land and enjoy faith, and everything is one, as land and faith are both malchut.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Trust in Hashem and do good. So the question is, what is do good? So the verse before, we talked about trusting the Creator, that in the seventh year, everything needs to be left alone and we will have abundance. And now the question is, what is do good? And it goes to talk about whatever we do in this world stirs something up above, right? Whatever actions we do here stirs actions above. So it's already been established, and do them means that you will do good things here. So when we're talking about, sharing and positivity and doing mitzvot, that's what we're talking about here, because it's talking about the righteous. That when the righteous do something good here, the goodness above is awakened. And then we have two different things. We have faith, and we have trust, and we have the doing good. So the faith and the trust are equivalent to the land, and both of them are malchut. So when we have faith and trust in the Creator, and we leave the land alone, which is malchut, we're able to connect to this level of doing good above and below. The next question is more deep into what is doing good.
Come and behold, daily the faithful guide malchut according to their wishes. She does as they decree. Who are the faithful? Those who stir good towards her by giving charity without sparing their own, knowing that the Holy One, blessed be He, will give them more, as it is written. There is one who gives freely and yet increases. What is the reason for this? That Yesod arouses blessings before him. He must not say, what shall I do tomorrow if I give now? Since the Holy One, blessed be He, bestows upon him blessings without end, as explained.
Okay, so Yesod represents abundance. Yesod represents everything that we draw down from abundance and money point of view. And Malchut is the manifestation, the land, the faith in the Creator. So what is it saying? How do we draw it down? By giving charity without sparing their own, meaning not worrying about what we have, because we know that we're going to draw down blessings if we give. It says, what shall I do tomorrow if I give now? And a lot of people think, if I give now, I'm not going to have for tomorrow. And that's a very limiting thought, because first of all, you can draw down a lot of abundance, and we're the ones that stop ourselves from drawing it down. There's millions and billions of dollars waiting, but if we worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, we're closing it off. If we come from a place every morning of, I don't know how, the people who say, I just want to make ends meet, that's what's going to happen. You're just going to make ends meet. If you're worried about tomorrow in such a way that it paralyzes you not to be able to give or not to be able to want more, you're cutting yourself off. So this whole thing about the 7th year and leaving the land is basically us being able to let go of our physicality, to be able to reach that level of trusting that the Creator has the abundance for us. Because most of us think that we're going to make the money when we work for it. But that's not true. The money is there waiting for us. We can work and work and work, and some people work and make the money, and some people work the same hours and don't make the money. What's the difference? The difference has to be in the consciousness. If you start out with the consciousness of, I'm doing this, whatever it is, because I want to share, and I want to have more and more and more so I can give, and I'm not worried what's going to happen tomorrow to me, and I'll be able to give, then the abundance will come. If the seed level of why I want to make money is because I'm afraid I won't have, it will never come. So let's keep on going.
Hence, and if you shall say, what shall we eat in the 7th year? It is written, then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. He asks, why asat? It should have been asta. Why is it written asat, without the hay? And he answers, in order to cause the hay, which is malchut, to draw from action,
To withdraw
from action, as a sabbatical year and rest are its habit, and it does no work, as is written, see that Hashem has given you on the 6th day, which is Yesod, the bread of 2 days. In a similar manner, then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, which is Yesod, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years.
So it says here, basically, what is Yesod? Yesod is the 6th day, the 6th Sfirah. Yesod is what brings the abundance. So the 6th day is before Shabbat. The same thing with the 6th year before the 7th year of the sabbatical, of the Shemitah, where we're supposed to leave everything. And it says very clear that if we understand that we can leave everything, then we'll have fruit for 3 years. If we're able to get rid of the physical, our physical things that block us, our physical things that stop us from letting go of all of this negativity or all of these worries and fears that are not real. If we're able to get rid of that, then we'll be able to connect to the abundance of having enough for 3 years if you're able to let go on the 7th year. So what does that mean for us? I mean, we don't really do Shemitah here. It's really only in Israel. So for us, it's every week we have the 7 years. Every week it's the 7 days. And if we're able to let go of all the physicality on Shabbat, that's how we're going to draw down the blessing for the next week. And it's every single week. So if Friday, for 24 hours, we're able to really connect to the power of Shabbat, we're going to have abundance during the week. Because that's where we draw the abundance from. Okay, so now we're going to go on to charity saves from death. I know a lot of you know this story, but I want to stop and share it from all the different points of view. So, Michelle, let's start.
Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi were walking along the way and chanced upon a mountain. They found 2 men walking, and at the same time a man coming, who said to them, "Please, I pray you, give me a piece of bread. For I have been lost in the desert for 2 days and have had nothing to eat." One of the men went aside, took out the provision he brought with him for the way, and gave it to him. He fed him and gave him drink. His companion said to him, "What shall you do when you need food? For as for me, I will eat my own and shall give you nothing." He said to him, "I do not rely upon your food." The poor man sat by him until he had eaten all he had, and he gave the remaining bread to the poor man for the road, and he went away.
Okay, so what's happening here? We have the two rabbis, the two Kabbalists, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi, and they're walking along, and they find two men walking at the same time, right? So there's the two Kabbalists, and there's two men walking, and then there's a poor man who comes to the two men. Yes? Everybody with me? And he's asking them for food. So the two men now are having a conversation where one of them goes and gives this poor man his food, and the other one says, "Listen, I'm not going to give you food. So you need to think about what you're doing, because when you're hungry, I'm not going to give it to you." So we have how many points of view here of what's going on in this story? 3. Exactly, 3. We have the Kabbalists, we have the two men, we have the poor man. Actually, it's 4, because the two men have different views. Right. Okay. Let's keep on going.
Rabbi Chia said, "The Holy One, blessed be He, He did not wish it to be done by us." Rabbi Yossi said, "Perhaps there is an impeding sentence upon that man, and the Holy One, blessed be He, wanted to put this in his way in order to save him." While they were walking, the man became exhausted due to hunger. His companion said to him, "Did I not tell you not to give your bread to another?" Rabbi Chia said to Rabbi Yossi, "We have food with us, let us give it to him to eat." Rabbi Yossi said, "Do you wish to take away his merit? Let us go and see, for surely death follows in his footsteps," meaning that the danger of death is following him, and the Holy One, blessed be He, wishes to prepare a merit for him in order to save him.
Okay, so what's going on here? Rabbi Chia is having a discussion with Rabbi Yossi saying, obviously there was some kind of a blessing going on here, and the Creator didn't want us to be involved because it was these two men that were involved, right? And he's saying, and Rabbi Yossi is saying, maybe there was some kind of a decree upon this person, and the Creator wanted to give him a chance to save himself from death. And that's what's going on with the Kabbalists. Then the two men are walking, and the one who gave away his food is obviously hungry. And his friend said to him, "Listen, I told you that I wasn't going to give you anything. Why did you give everything away?" This is the conversation they're having. And now Rabbi Chia says to Rabbi Yossi, "We have food. Let's give him something." And Rabbi Yossi says, "Do you want to take away his merit? Do you want to give him food, and then he's not going to be able to actually obtain what he was supposed to obtain by giving away all his food? Because obviously the Creator is putting something in his way so that he can save himself."
Meanwhile, the man sat to sleep under a tree. His friend went further and sat in a different place. Rabbi Yossi said to Rabbi Chia, "Let us sit down and watch, for surely the Holy One, blessed be He, intends to perform a miracle by him." They stood up and waited. While they were waiting, they saw a fiery rattlesnake standing by him. Rabbi Chia said, "Woe unto that man, for he is about to die." Rabbi Yossi said, "This man is worthy of a miracle of the Holy One, blessed be He." A snake then came down the tree with the intention of killing him. The rattlesnake attacked the snake and killed it. Then the rattlesnake turned his head and went on his way. Okay, so we have the two friends, each of them sitting under a different tree. Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi are sitting on the side watching what's happening and saying, we need to see what's going to happen because for sure there's going to be a miracle here. And so they're waiting, and while they're waiting, there's a rattlesnake coming, and then there's another snake coming. And Rabbi Chia says, "Oh my gosh, this poor man is about to die." And Rabbi Yossi says, "No, he for sure is going to have a miracle. The Creator for sure is going to make a miracle." And a snake came down trying to kill him, and the rattlesnake attacked the snake and killed it. Okay? And then the rattlesnake left. Rabbi Yossi said, "I have not told you that the Holy One, blessed be He, wished to perform a miracle for him, and you must not take away his merit, that he should not give him food." In the meanwhile, the man awoke from his sleep and rose to go. Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi joined him and gave him food. After he ate, they told him of the miracle the Holy One, blessed be He, performed for him.
So Rabbi Yossi says to Rabbi Chia, I told you that there was going to be a miracle because the Creator wanted to save him from death. And if we had given him food, he wouldn't have been saved. And while the man woke up, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yossi now can give him food because they realized that the miracle already happened. And they told him about everything that was happening.
Rabbi Yossi opened the discussion and said, trust in Hashem and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy security. Happy is a portion of he who does good using what is his, since he stirs good, which is Yesod, toward the congregation of Yisrael, which is Malchut. With what does he stir? With righteousness, charity. Since when righteousness is stirred, that good stirs towards the congregation of Yisrael. It is therefore written, but righteousness delivers from death. What is the reason for this? Because righteousness is the tree of life, Zeram Pin, it is aroused against the tree of death to take those who are attached to it, and it saves them from death. Who causes the tree of life to be stirred to do that? One says, the charity that man does is as if he does it above in causing Malchut to be united with the tree of life, as it is written, and do righteousness at all times. We have already explained this.
Okay, so the discussion now is trusting in the Creator and being able to enjoy security, having faith that we can have security. And happy is the portion of he who does good, which we've established that good is the charity that we do. And what happens if we do that? Charity is Yesod, which brings down more abundance. And then our Malchut, our physical world, is able to bring down all that abundance. So I have a couple of questions, and there's no right or wrong answer. Let's think about all the points of views of this story. What does it do for you? What does it do when you hear the story? What's your first impression from all the points of view?
Well, one of my thoughts is it's a good thing that the lesson wasn't for the other friend.
He wouldn't do it.
And then, for me, the charity part, I mean, it's like giving is one thing, and I know giving when you don't have is way harder, but how do you know when not to step in? That's the...
What do you mean?
Like, the rabbis didn't step in.
Right.
We try to rescue people. We always want to save and fix and rescue people, when really they need to shrink.
Right. Well, the thing is that there's always a line. You can never help somebody that doesn't want help. You know, I had this conversation with Racheli, like she wants to save the world. So, and she said to me, you know, there are people who are suffering, but they don't want help. You know, how do I help them? You can't help them. Because the first thing is that they need to want help. Because if you want to help them and they don't want help, then it's for you, it's not for them. Most of us want to save people, but it's not for them, it's for us. We want to say that we saved them. You know, it's like the story about teaching a person how to fish instead of giving them fish. We're really good at enabling people, all of us. But we're not doing it for them. If we think about it, we're not doing it for them, we're doing it for us. And that's where you have to know why you're doing it. To know when to step in or not to step in is to know what your motive is. If your motive is, I'm doing it because I want to come out as a good person, then don't do it. If your motive is to help them, then you will find ways for them to help themselves. Because there's no other way. What else? Let's hear more. Yes?
The thing that, I mean, the story is amazing, and every time I hear it, it's like the first time. But for me, how many times are we sleeping and we don't even know what happened? And he was lucky because he was fed, and then they told him what happened. But I feel like this happens so many times.
And we miss the miracles.
We miss the miracles.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we take it for granted, the little things. For sure. Who else? Anybody else? Okay. So what I want you to do is write down for yourself where you think you missed a miracle. We're going to go through all the points of view and see if you can see yourself in all the points of view. So first of all, where do you think you missed a miracle that you were sleeping, just like you said just now?
In our own life.
Mm-hmm. In your own life. And then we'll share. when did you have a miracle that you missed? You didn't realize that it was a miracle. It's not about certainty. It's you had a miracle happen, you didn't realize it until after. Do you understand
Had
that?
a miracle happen?
But it took you a while to realize that it was a miracle. Yeah, go ahead.
In college, I dated someone and thought we were going to get married, and it was very serious, and it didn't work out, and it was not a miracle in any way, form. It was very difficult. And 10 years later, 10 years, I found out it was a miracle. He reached out to me to ask me a real estate question. Mind you, he's married with children, and tried to like take me out on a date. And
While he was married?
while he was married, and I didn't realize. I thought he just wanted to catch up, and then it started going there. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not appropriate. And I thought, for 10 years, I've always been wondering, what if, and why did it happen? It was the biggest miracle in my life because I could have
Right.
been that person.
Yep. Anybody else?
I can think of that at the time, because I was a teenager, you feel so invincible. But if I think back how we used to drive,
Oh, for sure.
besides the fact that we weren't wearing seatbelts, but the condition that we would drive in, there's just no way. And then sort of along with that, walking home late at night by myself, I mean,
Yep.
you know, a lot of people don't have miracles in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure I wasn't alone. Somebody's protecting
For
me.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Anybody else? No? Do you have something, Nicole?
I was also going to say relationships.
Mhm.
Years later, you find out, oh yeah.
That's why.
Be with
But
that
that's
person.
not a miracle. I think that's not a miracle what happened, not even to her.
It's her miracle.
But then, it's not right now. You know, whatever it's perception.
Yeah, but it's
No, no, no.
It is a miracle.
It is a miracle.
For someone who's
What's
a
miracle?
What's a miracle? Miracles happen every day.
That's what I'm saying too.
So it's her miracle.
Because miracle come with a perception too. Everything what was right then, it wasn't right now, or the opposite.
marrying
No.
a
You're marrying a person who's going to cheat on you.
when I didn't see it for
But you
years.
don't know what's going on in his marriage. Maybe it's over.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not single.
No agreement between them.
Okay, so the next point of view, I want you to think of a time that you helped someone that you really shouldn't have helped them. And you saw that in the end it worked against them.
Can you repeat it?
Think about someone that you helped that you really shouldn't have helped them, and in the end it worked against them.
Yeah.
When you think about people who don't appreciate.
Children.
No. That children is not considered. It's your job. You don't have a choice. That's your job.
Do you mean helping someone who doesn't want help, that you just enable the situation to become worse? Definitely. I think you and Eliyahu always say this in classes. Sometimes not helping is helping, and I think when it comes to people that take advantage, it's like the biggest lesson I've learned.
And it's hard. It's a hard lesson because we all want to help and we all think that, and it's usually a person who's a victim.
Of course.
It's usually a person who, and oh my gosh, this poor person, but they need help. So think about it. Just take a minute. Think about it in your life. Because if you know that, it will help you change your point of view to help somebody help themselves, not to help somebody because you want to help them. That's the second point of view that we have here. If you don't have anyone, it's okay. We'll go on to the last point of view. The last point of view is being that person sleeping under the tree. And looking at it and saying there's definitely a miracle that has to happen. So how many of us, when we go through a hard time, say there's definitely a miracle that's supposed to happen? How many of us in the middle of it, in the middle of the challenges, in the middle of the chaos, say, there's a reason, and I for sure know that the Creator has a miracle here for me? Think about a time that you've experienced that. And write it down. You should write it down if you have one.
I would just say that maybe I should change my wording and language, because when I go through hard times, I would say, surely there's something good that has to come out of this.
Right.
I wouldn't call it I'm not waiting for a miracle though.
Right.
That seems way too big. But just
Okay.
some lesson or something good.
Right.
Is it the same?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Anybody?
There's obviously times when I'm going through something difficult, in the back of my mind, I'll try to remind myself, oh no, I don't see the whole picture.
But do you see after it? Do you see that what good came out of it after it? That's what's important.
Yeah.
It's not just to say, okay, I'm sure there's something that's going to come out of it, and then just leave it.
And then later you.
Yeah, it's so important to go back and look at what is the good that came out of it. Because otherwise we're just fooling ourselves. We're just saying, oh, it's like the people who live in La La Land. No, what actually good came out of it? That's what I want you to think of. What situation, pick one situation in your life that was a hard situation, that you didn't see it at that moment, but then you realized the good that came out of it. That actually was good for you. Take a moment. I know it's hard to think about it right away, but for sure there's something. Because we all go through challenges, we all go through hard times, and even if we study spirituality and we think that we're spiritual, if we don't really see the good that comes out of it, then we're just fooling ourselves. We're not really doing anything.
But you're referring to the good that comes out of it for us?
Mm-hmm.
What about for other people?
No, I'm talking about for you specifically. Things that you went through that were hard, that in the end were good for you. That you couldn't see that it was good when it happened. The fact that go ahead.
So for example, falling out with certain people and you're so upset at the time, and then you later realize, I'm so glad those toxic people are not in my circle. Is that a good reason?
For you, for everybody, it has to be more specific. It can't be, that's very broad. Think about one time that happened in your life that it was total chaos and something good came out of it. I can tell you, for me, I think everybody knows by now, all my pregnancies are high risk. They were all, they were all born in the 7th month. They were all, everything. So before all of those pregnancies, I had a pregnancy where I lost her, but I didn't know what was wrong with me. Like I had factor 5, I had high blood pressure, but nobody knew that. So if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have my kids. So at the time, you think it's the end of the world. But really, because of that, I was able to bring 3 kids to the world. So for sure you have something that's not that extreme, that you went through, that at the end was good. And the reason why it's so important to find it is because if you don't find it, you don't appreciate the Creator. You're just living life as a robot. And spirituality is just a crutch. A lot of people use spirituality as a crutch. And the big words and the big, the things that we say that don't really mean anything if we don't stop and think. That's why the two rabbis said, wait and let's watch and see what happens. Because if we don't stop and listen even to ourselves, we miss everything. We need to stop and think, what am I going through? Why am I going through it? Is there something good that I got from it? What happened? Even if you look a year back, 2 years back, 3 years back, take a moment, and if you want, we can do a meditation. In a couple of minutes, we'll do a meditation, and I'll help you get to it, where you actually can see something that happened that brought you to a good place, a better consciousness, a better quality of something. Something good came out of it, even though it was horrible. So you know what? Let's do the meditation now, and then we'll go to the next thing after. So if you can uncross, put everything down. Close your eyes. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths in and out. And start releasing all the tensions of the day. You can slowly start from the top of your head, filling your body with light. So slowly feeling the light and the warmth going through your top of your head, your forehead, your eyes, your ears. Feel it going through your nose, your nostrils. Feel it down your cheeks. Feel your jaw loosening, your mouth. Feel the warmth going down your neck and your shoulders. Try and release your shoulders of all the tension from the day. Feel the warmth going down your arms, your hands, your fingers, your chest, and all your inner organs, your stomach. Feel the energy going down your hips and your thighs, your legs. You can feel your knees maybe loosening up a little bit. Your shins. You can feel your heel and your ankle, your foot and your toes. You can feel all the warmth and the energy going through all your body. And now I want you to take yourself to a comfortable, calm place. If it's in nature, if it's in a cabin, if it's by the water, wherever you feel comfortable. And draw a picture of that home that you want to be in. What it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like. If it's wood or cement. And draw a picture of a comfortable room. What does your favorite room look like in your home? A comfortable chair or a couch? And see yourself walking up the stairs to this home. You're walking up 3 stairs. 1, 2, 3. And you're opening the door to this beautiful, comfortable home. And you're sitting in that comfortable room, a safe room. If it's on a couch or a chair. And I want you to imagine a big screen. It's a big white screen in front of you with a soft white light. It's not too bright. And it's pleasant to look at. I want you to look at the screen and see yourself in one of those challenging situations. See yourself going through that moment. Don't try and push it away. Don't be embarrassed. Just embrace that moment and be aware of what you felt, what you saw, what you heard, how you reacted, and what your thoughts were while you were going through the situation. What are your thoughts? What are you feeling? And slowly I want you to be able to leave that situation. Embrace it. Thank it. And release it. And I want you, with your mind's eye, to take a picture of the good that came out of that situation. What did you feel? Did it make you smile? Did it make you realize something? Did it bring you closer to the Creator? Did it bring you closer to other people? Take a moment in that room, in that chair, in that couch, to process, to be able to see the good, to be able to feel the warmth. And now I want you slowly to take that with you, embrace it. Imagine a big ball of white light around it. You can slowly get up in your mind's eye out of that room. And you're going to go down the stairs. 3, 2, 1. And you're going to imagine yourself going out of that home. And slowly, slowly, I want you to become aware of your body again. You're going to feel that white light going through the bottom of your toes, up to your ankles, your heels. You're going to feel it in your feet and in your legs, your knees, your thighs, your hips. And feel it in your stomach and all your inner organs. And it's starting to go up to your shoulders and your arms, your hands and your fingers. And you feel it in your neck. You become aware of your face, of your mouth, of your jaw, your ears, your eyes, your nose, all the way through to the top of your head. I want you to take in 3 deep breaths, in and out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. If you saw anything, please write it down. Take a couple of minutes and write it down. It's really important. Whoever wants to start can start, or I can give you a couple more minutes to write whatever you want. You want to go? Go ahead.
Well, I went way back. I went back to 16.
Wow.
I graduated school, and I was supposed to be headed off to Australia to get my university over there. My dad and his family over there, and that's where I was supposed to go. And you normally have 6 months in between university, high school and college over there in India. Well, it turns out my parents wouldn't let me go. They said I was too wild and crazy. And I basically rebelled against that big time. And then I was over there, went through 1 year of university in India, and during that time I found out that I could go to Israel on my own, and I didn't need anybody to help me. And it was like a whole different thing. And I looked at the freedom that I had in Israel versus what I would have been tied into in Australia. I mean, just two different paradigms completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was making my own money in Israel, doing different things, and still putting myself through school, but it was just a very, very different approach.
That's good. Wow, I'm glad you saw that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Anybody else? Next person? Yes.
So when I failed the bar a second time, by half a point, I went into a very, very sad place, because that meant I had to quit my job, and I wasn't going to make money for 6 months, and I really thought it was...
Why did you have to quit your job?
Because when you study, you can't work.
Oh, okay.
So already I was out of school for so long, and loans, the interest was just adding and adding. So in hindsight, I got out of that bad relationship, which was a huge blessing, but I ended up, and I completely forgot this, but I saw it in meditation. It was the first time I went and bought a book on spirituality and Kabbalah. And it was the first time where I really learned how to take care of myself and really make something beautiful out of something so difficult. And then ended up getting my dream job. And in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But at the time, not so much.
Good, good. The point, there are a couple of things here. First thing that we spoke about was the 7th year. How does this tie into everything? It's being able to let go. If in those places where you're stuck and you think that you need to do something and you can't let go of it physically, that's where we're blocking ourselves. That's where we're so worried about what's going to happen tomorrow that we block ourselves. That's where we're so worried about not having anything to eat. I mean, I don't think any of us ever got to that place, but we're so worried that we're not going to be able to pay our bills or to do something that we're just stuck there. The 7th year, just like Shabbat, was made on purpose so that we would be able to let go, so that we would be able to trust the Creator. And it's so important to remember that every week, every Friday, if we can try for 24 hours to not think about work, to not think about the bills, to not think about all those things, and to just be with the Creator and with ourselves for 24 hours. And you'll see how much you're able to let go of. Because working on that 7th day when it was made, like I think on Shabbat I spoke about it, that the most important thing that we don't appreciate is our loved ones. There's a story, I have to remember the story, but there's a story basically, the song Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin. So if you know the song, it's about a father whose son is begging for attention. And the father says, later, later, later. And in the end, the son grows up, he becomes a father himself. And by the time the father is ready to spend time with the son doesn't have time anymore. So it's understanding that we have to set aside time for ourselves, for the Creator, and for other people in our lives, because we don't appreciate it. And that's where we get wrapped up in, I can't stop. Because if I stop, what's going to happen if you stop? You have to stop. You have to stop, because if you don't stop, you're not listening to yourself, you're not listening to others, and you're not listening to the most important people in your lives. And that's where the sabbatical comes in, where if we can let go of that physicality, if we can let go of what we think we need to do, because, we plan and God laughs, we can get to higher places. That was the first thing. The second thing is the charity. Why is charity so important? Because charity is never for the other person. Think about it. They were watching this, and the man gave his bread away, and it wasn't for that poor person. It was actually so he could save his life. By doing that, he was saving himself. Remember, there's always poor people in the world so that we can have a chance to save ourselves. It's never about saving them. Never. The charity that we give other people is never because they need it. We need it. If you switch that in your mind, you'll understand what actually charity saves from death means. It's not about the person receiving the charity is being saved from death. It's we're being saved from death. So when we give, we need to give from a place of understanding that it's for us. It's never for the other person, ever. It's the Creator put this in my path so that I can make myself better, so that I can save myself, so that I can draw more. It talks about Yesod, so that I can draw more abundance. But if I don't make a place for things to flow, then I'm just stopping it. I'm just blocking myself from flowing. And we always say charity is three things. It's time, love, and money. So in the case with the cats in the cradle, he didn't want to give time. And that comes back to bite us. If we don't give time, if we don't dedicate time for ourselves, if we don't dedicate time for our loved ones, we're missing the whole point. So, and it's always important to find what's hardest for you. Why? Because if you want a miracle in your life, you have to act like a miracle. A miracle is out of nature. If you act with your nature, then that's what you're going to get. If you are a person who has no problem giving time, then you have to look at the love and the money. If you have no problem giving love, then you have to look at the time and the money. If you have no problem giving money, time and love. Because we think, unless there's someone here that their life is perfect, we always want miracles. And it's always a different level of a miracle. It could be a small miracle, it could be a big miracle. And it's that of going out of the malchut, going out of our physical and letting go and saying, okay, how much do I want? I want this much? Okay, how much am I willing to give? Am I willing to give this much? Or am I willing to give this much? What am I willing to do? Because we ask for miracles every day, but what are we willing to do for them? Once it becomes illogical for us, then we don't do it. But what we're asking for is also illogical. In our movie, in our life, what we're asking for is illogical. But if we want that illogical thing, what are we willing to do that's illogical? Think about that for a minute. What are we willing to do that's out of our comfort zone, out of our... How many of you do illogical things? How many of you are willing to hear someone tell you something illogical and do it anyway? It's hard. It's hard because it doesn't make sense. But what we want doesn't make sense either. That's where we stop. We stop at, it doesn't make sense, why should I do it? But what we're asking for doesn't make sense either. So if what we're asking for doesn't make sense, then we need to do something that doesn't make sense. Because if we become rigid and only do what we know how to do, and the rigidness can look open. People who are spiritual will have their own schedule of being spiritual, yet they won't do something out of their spirituality. Do you understand what I'm saying? But they want miracles. Miracles aren't going to happen if you're going to sit and meditate or if you're going to do yoga. That's great, but that's not what's going to make you bring a miracle into your life. Bringing a miracle into your life is doing time, love, and money. And everybody knows what their weakness is. Everybody knows what their weakness is. I can tell you my weakness is time. I always say I don't have time. And I need to be careful with that because in the end I won't have time. I have no problem with love and money. Easy for me. Time is very hard. And that's where my thing is.